Hello everybody. Welcome to our second unit of our overall theme of cycles. This unit is bird migration. So you can start by making the connection between bird migration and cycles. The migration pattern is a cycle that birds go through every year. And that can also lead into discussion of the seasons themselves being a cycle. And that can lead into the discussion of why birds might need to migrate, why they can't stay in one place year round. There's some, as always, there's some recommended questions on here with answers, so you can ask the students, get them thinking about it. And then we have our wonderful trusty puppet show. And again, I recommend for K through 2 that the parent volunteers do this. But if you have a 3rd and 4th grade class, what I like to do with those is give the script a day or two in advance and have the teacher assign it so the students can be familiar, so they're not doing a cold read. But then they can actually do the puppet show themselves, and it's kind of fun for them to do that and be a little bit more involved. But anyway, scripts and puppets will be in there. And that's always a good way to start. The kids look forward to it. They're expecting it. If you don't do the puppet show, you might have some explaining to do. And then we'll have our centers. We'll have 5 centers. And the conclusion activity, the big conclusion activity, is going to depend on how much time you have left and what your class is like and what the weather is like. So use your judgment. It's actually could be done outdoors and probably should be done outdoors. Depending on the class, you might be able to get away with doing it in the classroom, but again, if you have a really wily group, you might want to skip this one and do something a little bit more mellow. But if you're feeling good and you think the students are up for it, it is a really fun activity that kind of brings home all the talk of migration. So in this bag, we have a lot of different props, and they're all kind of labeled. There is a whole sheet, a whole migration hazard tag. So the gist of it is that a few students become birds, and there are, I think, 3 of these Angry Bird little costumes that the students can put on, which is going to be hilarious. Take some pictures, and we can get it in the yearbook. And then other students can act as hazards. So this is like a tree branch, a resting place. So you can put that down so birds can have a chance to rest. But the idea is you're going to have them go from one end of a sidewalk to another, and they're going to have to stay within the confines of a certain space. And then they're going to have these hazards. And we have, this can be bad weather, especially with all the climate stuff going on. Bad weather is becoming an issue for some birds. We have stuff like, kids can put on this glove to show, pollution and entanglement and trash and all that stuff. And then the idea is the birds have to figure out how to get through the migration flyway without being touched by one of these hazards. So it's kind of a way to open up some discussion about how birds are affected during migration, how humans have an effect on birds during migration, and what they really need to do to survive, because migration is a pretty amazing feat that birds do year in and year out. So that's a fun one, but again, if you have a really crazy group or not enough parent volunteers, there's cones too, sorry. That's how you set your course. They have to fly from one set of cones to the other, and they kind of have to stay within the course. But fun, but could get a little crazy. Hopefully the weather will be nice, because outdoors will be a lot better, obviously. Some other ideas, there's just a reading they can do that talks about how oil spills can affect birds migrating. This is a very simple maze, but it could be a quick end of activity, especially for younger kids. It's kind of the same idea of the migration tag. They have to take the birds through the maze, avoiding, the jet and the power lines and some of the other hazards. And then the final one is in a bind game, and there is another instruction sheet, although it's broken up very strangely, so it's kind of hard to read, but you'll get the idea. So the idea here is thinking about, pollution and birds getting tangled in trash, and, the 6-pack container things. So you have the kids put a rubber band, I'm going to have a whole bunch of rubber bands in there, on their hand like that, and you give them 30 seconds to try to get out of it without using another hand. So you have to try to get out of the rubber band totally. It's pretty easy for adults. I think with some of the younger kids, they're going to find it's hard. You can also try, okay, what if it's around your neck? Or what if it's very tightly wrapped around your beak? And you can try some different things. It's kind of just another way to show that humans have an effect on birds and to start some discussion that way. So that is it. There's no slideshow this time. So again, use your judgment and think about the age and personality of your particular class. Have some fun with it. And if you have any questions, email us at mitchellelf@gmail.com. Thanks.